It's the palm oil in your cookies, the nickel in your battery, and the Robusta beans in your morning coffee. Indonesia's economic success story is already part of your daily life. On paper, everything in the garden looks rosy. The economy should be the darling of the emerging investment community. But now it's all at risk. A high-stakes spending plan to spur growth, unorthodox decisions that undermine confidence in the central bank, and the shuddering impact of the latest oil price shock are souring the picture. According to government data, Southeast Asia's largest economy grew by 5.3% in the April to June quarter, compared to a year ago. Now that seems like a pretty healthy growth figure, but President Prabowo's administration has set a highly publicised goal of pushing Indonesia's economic growth to 8% before 2030. The economic data shows the Indonesian economy moving farther away, not closer to those ambitious long-term goals. Slower growth comes in the back of lower household spending as the impact of the Iran war becomes more apparent. Indonesia's currency is under pressure. Over the course of the year, the rupiah plunged 8% to record lows near 18,000 to the dollar. And the stock market is one of the world's weakest performers in 2026. Not that long ago, Indonesia was the poster child of emerging economies. So what happened? It's a country with a lot going for it. While Indonesia rarely features in global economic conversations the way India or China do, we're talking about a G20 member with a large middle class. It's the world's largest nickel producer. It's also the world's fourth most populous country with over 280 million people, 70% of whom are of working age. It's really benefiting from a major demographic dividend. They're young and tech-savvy. The median age is around 30 years old, which drives rapid digital adoption and e-commerce growth. Since 2020, the economy has been growing steadily, and the Finance Ministry has forecast growth of 6% for the current year. Now, this man had a lot to do with it, President Prabowo Subianto, who has run a chaotic administration since taking office in 2024. Prabowo served for over 2 decades in the Indonesian Army's Special Forces, but was discharged in 1998 following allegations he oversaw the abduction and torture of pro-democracy activists during the fall of the regime of General Suharto, his former father-in-law. After leaving the military, he became a successful entrepreneur in the palm oil, paper and mining industries. He moved into politics and ran unsuccessful presidential campaigns in 2014 and 2019 against Joko Widodo. Following his defeat in 2019, he joined Widodo's cabinet as Minister of Defence. The 2024 campaign rebranded this military man accused of committing atrocities as a gamoy, meaning a cute grandfather figure. The tactic worked. Financial markets initially welcomed Prabowo's victory in February 2024, primarily because it broke the near-term political gridlock. They wanted more of the same on the economy. They didn't get it. Instead, Prabowo launched a series of expensive populist measures.
It's populist program, but also very expensive. For example, the free food program. It has covered 63 million students nowadays. And next year, it will grow up to 83 million. And it costs 10% of the total government spending.
As it rolls out across thousands of islands, the Free Meals Project faces mounting challenges. There are reports of mass food poisoning. The director of the programme quit, overwhelmed, while her predecessor was arrested for corruption. And there are logistics problems.
The market doesn't really object to better nutrition, healthcare, housing, education. On the idealism-wise, they are undoubtedly noble, I believe so. But the question is whether these programs are properly funded and economically productive.
In other words, the program is proving less healthy than he'd hoped for the country's finances, and even for many of its intended beneficiaries. There are also fears that Prabowo is putting pressure on the country's economic institutions. Last year, he fired the respected finance minister, Sri Mulyani Indrawati. This was controversial because she was seen as an institutional safeguard of Indonesia's economic stability. But her commitment to austerity meant she was not popular. He then nominated his nephew, Thomas Jiwandono, as a deputy governor of the central bank earlier this year. In late July, Indonesia's central bank governor stepped down in a surprise move. Analysts and investors expressed renewed concerns about the central bank's independence. This murky situation is made worse by Prabowo's decision to pass sweeping laws with little transparency. Parliament has new powers to direct the central bank, viewed as a threat to its independence. Prabowo recently announced the state would take over commodity exports under Danantara, a sovereign wealth fund that he established. Prabowo's actions have unsettled investors and undermined Indonesia's hard-won reputation for fiscal conservatism. External factors are also contributing to the changing view of Indonesia. The Indonesian economy had been moving along nicely until the US-Iran war. Then oil prices jumped. Even though higher commodities prices were helping Indonesia, the cost of energy skyrocketed.
This year, 2026, we are the net oil importer. The expensive dollar really hit us pretty well. We are experiencing the energy shock because we are highly dependent on the oil supply from the Hormuz Strait. Yeah, that is quite a problem for Indonesia.
Another challenge for Indonesia is the risk of falling into the middle income trap. This happens when a country successfully moves from being a low-income economy to a middle-income one, but then struggles to make the productivity gains needed to become a high-income economy. World Bank data show Indonesia's economy been growing at around 5% annually for much of the past decade, apart from during the COVID pandemic. Now that's enough to maintain middle-income status, but not fast enough to become a high-income economy by its target date of 2045. Productivity growth has been relatively modest, while a significant share of workers remain in informal or low value-added jobs. Another thing is that economists have noted pressures on the middle class and concerns over sluggish income growth. The economy remains heavily dependent on commodities and extractive industries without benefiting from the greater value added of refining or manufacturing. Indonesia dominates nickel. It's essential for electric vehicle batteries, for example. But despite sitting on a critical mineral, investors remain nervous. Why isn't all that mineral wealth translating into stronger confidence? Well, nickel isn't enough on its own.
We rely too much on commodity export at the moment. Around 60% of our exports are commodity, and 5 major commodity representing close to 45% of total export.
Earlier this year, fellow ratings agencies Moody's and Fitch cut their debt rating outlooks for Indonesia to negative, citing the unpredictable and expensive nature of Prabowo's plans. In July, the credit agencies S&P affirmed Indonesia's current sovereign credit ratings, stating that its outlook for the country's economy remains stable. So think of a sovereign credit rating as a report card for a country. Affirming Indonesia's BBB is like a passing grade. This means S&P believes Indonesia is safe for investors and will be able to pay back its debts.
So this is quite good news for us. However, the 3 rating agencies give us a very clear warning about the need for the government to ensure fiscal sustainability and also to ensure that the government maintain policy predictability, because nowadays unpredictable policy is quite common in Indonesia.
Indonesia has the ingredients to become an economic powerhouse. Investors want to know, can President Prabowo deliver fast growth without sacrificing the fiscal discipline and institutional credibility that made Indonesia a success story in the first place? Otherwise, the giant that powers everything from your morning coffee to your electric car could become one of the world's biggest missed economic opportunities.